Hello everyone, welcome back to Bajirao IAS Academy. Today is 19th October 2023. As part of our lecture series on discussion of 2023 mains question papers, we will be discussing ethics case studies. So, in previous lecture, we have discussed two case studies, and in this lecture, we will discuss a few more case studies. Right. So, this case study is particularly about a role of a public servant. Now, the case study says at 9 p.m. on Saturday evening, Rashika, a joint secretary, was still engrossed in her work. So, her husband, Vikram, is an executive in an MNC. So, that was a private company. And the frequently out of town in connection with his work. So, Vikram very frequently out of the town because of his connection with his work. So both Vikram and Rashika have two kids, two children. So they are aged at 5 and 3. So they are looked after by their domestic helper. Because both of them are in very high positions, and because of there's a lack of proper work-life balance, their children are looked after by the domestic help. So at 9:30 p.m., her superior, Rashika's superior, Mr. Suresh, calls her and asks her to prepare a detailed note on important matter to be discussed in a meeting with the ministry. So Rashika realizes that she will have to work on Sunday to finish the additional task given by her superior. So in order to finish the work that has been assigned to Rashika, she had to work on Sundays as well. So since the children of Rashika are taken care by the domestic helper, and they're not paying adequate attention to their kids, even during Sundays also, she has to work overtime. So to finish the additional task that is being given to her. So she reflects on how she had looked forward to this posting, and she had also worked long hours for months to achieve this. However, she had kept the welfare of the people uppermost in discharging her duties. So it is very often advocated in a public service that the public welfare should be given priority over the private welfare or private interest. So in this context, Joint Secretary Rashika also done the same thing. So what she has done, she had kept the welfare of the people uppermost in discharging her duties. So she also feels that she has not done enough justice to her family. Why? Because despite being a mother of two kids, there's a lack of proper work-life balance, and she's not able to give enough time for her children. So over a period of time, she started realizing this. So because she is not able to give justice to her role in a family as a mother, so therefore uh, she has not fulfilled her duties in discharging the essential social obligations. So as a mother, she also have essential social obligations, and those social obligations must be fulfilled. Because if you look at the process of socialization, so healthy socialization usually starts with mother at a family level, particularly for children. So the connection between the emotional connect between mother and children is very important for healthy upbringing, a value based upbringing of children. So therefore, in this context, Rashika realized that she had failed to fulfill essential social obligations. So even as recently as last month, she had to leave her sick child in Mani's nanny's care. So even though one of her kid was sick, but she prioritized her work. She prioritized people's welfare or people's interest as uppermost than her kids. So therefore, she had to leave her kid in the nanny's care. So now she feels that she must draw a line. So there should be a line so that there should be a proper work-life balance. Now, work-life balance is not just important for personal life, but it is also very important for professional success. So when there is a poor work-life balance, that would result in unable to discharge the professional duties in a more efficient manner. So in this context, she has decided to draw a line for this. So beyond which her personal life should take precedence over her professional responsibilities. So here, no doubt, she will give priority to the professional duties, but there should be a line. So beyond that line, she will prioritize or prefer her personal responsibilities as a mother, as a wife. So therefore, she thinks that there should be a reasonable limits to the work ethics, such as punctuality, hard work, dedication to duty, and selfless service. Yes, these values are very important, but along with these values, it is also very important that she dedicate at least some sort of time for her children. So therefore, that is very important for emotional connect and a healthy upbringing and socialization of her children. Now, in this context, there are three questions given, and we need to answer these three questions. So the first question says, discuss the ethical issues involved in this case. So what are the ethical issues actually involved in this case? So we need to find out those ethical issues. For example, she has prioritized her professional responsibilities over the personal duties or personal responsibilities. That can be considered as an ethical issue because it impacts the upbringing of children. There's no emotional connect. And secondly, briefly describe at least four laws that have been enacted by the government of India with respect to providing healthy, safe, equitable working environment for women. So here we need to write four laws, four legislations that were brought by the government. So with respect to healthy, safe and equitable working environment for women. Right. So the next question that is being asked is, imagine you are in a similar situation. So for example, you yourself in a similar situation. So what suggestions would you make to mitigate such working conditions? So what are the suggestions you put forward to ensure that the situation that has been shown in this case could be mitigated? So first and foremost, you need to write a brief introduction. So what should be the introduction here in this case? So the introduction you can mention about this case is particularly about there's a work-life imbalance or work-life mismatch. So because of this work-life mismatch, Rashika realized the importance of giving adequate amount of time for her kids along with giving priority and importance to her professional responsibilities. So this is what you can briefly write in the introduction. So however, when it comes to the body part of the answer, firstly you have to write the first part of the answer. So it says the ethical issues that are being involved in this case. So what are the ethical issues involved in this case? So these are the ethical issues briefly. First and foremost, she had neglected her personal life. So from the above case study, what we can understand is she neglect her personal life. In fact, her husband Vikram also is very frequently out of town. So he is also not able to take care of children. And Rashika, because of her, uh, the aspect of prioritizing her professional duties, professional responsibilities, she was also not able to perform her personal responsibilities. Now, Rashika have to leave her sick child in nanny's care. So you can understand the quantum of the problem. Even if her child is sick, Then also she had to leave her kid in uh, nanny's care. So therefore she could attend the work and potentially compromising her child's health and emotional well-being. So earlier I have told you that emotional connect between a mother and a child is very important. So that results in creation of a so, social capital, because mother can rightly inculcate values, and in this case the child is also deprived of love care from mother. And at an early age this is very important. Please also remember their age is also very less, 5 and 3 years of age. So therefore in this case Rashika clearly compromised her responsibilities, her personal responsibilities. So she even went on to the extent of compromising her child's health and emotional well-being. So the second ethical issue which is being involved in this case, it is undue pressure that Rashika has been facing from her superior. So despite Rashika is not able to fulfill her personal responsibilities, then also she was given additional responsibilities, additional tasks. So that could further isolate Rashika from her family and from her personal responsibilities. So that is the other factor of this case we need to understand. So on part of her superiors at work who are expecting her to even do the work on Sundays, so even without considering her personal time and family commitments. So this very effectively demonstrates there's a lack of concern for employees welfare, because it is also very important for any employee to have a working conditions that are safe, and they could cater uh, uh, some amount of time for their families as well. So therefore the superior of Rashika not able to understand the responsibilities at her personal level and given her additional task. When her superior given additional task, and Rashika has to compromise her family commitments. So this effectively demonstrates that there is a lack of concern for the employee welfare, because for any employment there are working hours. So it is true that civil servants have to respond beyond, they have to go beyond the call of duty. It is true, but only to some extents. Whenever there is a disaster that took place, whenever there is a law and order situation that takes place, whenever there were communal rights, so yes, they can go beyond call of duty to uphold the law and ensure the law and order. However, every organization and even private organization and even the public organization, they should have a working hours. So beyond the working hours, so it could result in building undue pressure and stress. Uh, so therefore, that could come under a coercion. So working with coercion, so undue influence, so that could severely impact the employees' psychological health. So therefore in this context the undue pressure that could be considered as a next ethical issue. Now after that there's a double burden of expectations. So what kind of an expectation, for example, Rashika as a joint secretary facing burden from the her department also, and from family also, family as a mother and department as a joint secretary. So there are additional responsibilities, so that this can be considered as a double burden. So in fact in our society the responsibility of taking care of children elders is predominantly assigned to women. So that is how the society is actually constructed. So in this context there's a double burden which effectively falls on Rashika rather than Vikram. Rather than Vikram, the responsibility of taking care of children is more on Rashika, because that is how the society views the role of a woman, role of a mother. So therefore we can also consider the double burden of expectations from Rashika. So this further worsen the situation. Now next, the next part of the question is four laws that were enacted by the government. What are the laws that are being enacted by the government? So first and foremost, the law which is being enacted by the government is Maternity Benefit Act 1961. So this Maternity Benefit Act that was passed by the Parliament in the year 1961, and it was amended in 2017 as well. So this legislation has been providing 26 weeks of maternity leave to ensure a maternal health of a woman. So please remember, this is paid leave. 26 weeks of paid leave for women. So this will ensure maternal health of child. So this also has a provisions of crèche facilities at the organization, and even mother is also allowed for at least 6 crèche visits every day. Now, the next legislation that was passed was Factories Act 1948. So please remember, all these legislations have been passed to ensure safe working conditions for women. Now, in this context, the Factories Act 1948, so that was amended in the year 2016. So this particular legislation mandates that women should not be assigned night shifts to ensure their safety. Now, women's safety is very important because there were instances of women facing sexual harassment at workplaces. So women were not assigned night shifts. So this act was amended in the year 2016. So the next important legislation, Equal Remuneration Act 1976. So in fact, this particular legislation prohibits discrimination in pay. For example, on the basis of gender, male and female, it is true that in an informal sector or in an unorganized sector, so there's a huge discrimination when it comes to pay. And this discrimination and this gap is rightly called by the World Bank and even World Economic Forum. So therefore, the Equal Remuneration Act 1976 says that it prohibits discrimination in pay on the grounds of gender. Because even in directive principles of state policy, so there was a provision. That provision says equal remuneration for equal work between male and female. So therefore, it ensures equal remuneration for both male and female. So the fourth legislation was Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. So this particular legislation is also known with the name Vishaka Guidelines. So those guidelines which are given by the Supreme Court in the year 1997. So to ensure that these guidelines will prevent sexual harassment of women at workplace. So since there was absence of any legislation in this regard, Vishaka guidelines were announced by the Supreme Court. So however, in order to give a legislative form, okay, a legislative form for the Vishaka guidelines, union government or the parliament passed Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. So this particular act legislation mandates constitute that every organization should constitute an internal complaints committee. So therefore, this internal complaints committee will investigate the matters related to women harassment. So therefore, once these internal complaints committees are constituted, women employees can readily complain so their harassment instances to these committees. So if the harassment is very serious in nature, appropriate action will be taken by the employer against those employees. So it also requires the employers to create a safe environment and prevent sexual harassment and provide redressal mechanisms as well. So these are four laws that are being enacted by the government in this regard. So the third question within the case study is suggestions. So for example, if you are in a position of that particular employee, so Rashika, so what suggestions would you suggest to mitigate this situation? Now the suggestions include this issue should be brought to the notice of concerned authorities. Why? Because she has been facing this undue pressure, so excessive workload, so that it leads to compromising her personal responsibilities. So therefore in this context there is a need that this issue should be brought to the notice of concerned authorities. So the second suggestion that is being given is workload assessment. So yes, it is true that she has been facing excessive workload, so she has been given additional tasks even during Sundays. So therefore, there is a need to conduct a comprehensive workload assessment uh, to ensure that the civil servants are not overloaded with the work. They're not overloaded with the excessive tasks, because it is very important for the efficient functioning of those civil servants. So if work tension, work burden increases, then they cannot be able to deliver their functions more efficiently and effectively. So therefore, when we have conducted this comprehensive workload assessment, it results in implementation of efficient task distribution. So yes, these tasks are being given to or being assigned to only few employees after conducting this assessment properly. So therefore we can assign these tasks, or we can distribute these tasks more evenly or more fairly, so that could in the long run prevent overburdening of these instances or these issues. So third, leadership training is also very important, because with the leadership training there will be supervisors and managers, so how to support their subordinates, not just pressure give and not just imposing undue pressure. So rather than understanding the the roles and responsibilities of subordinates and supporting them, so emotionally, is also very important. So therefore the leadership training should be made mandatory for the civil servants, so that they could support their subordinates in achieving the work life balance, and the work life balance is the essence of this case study. And the fourth suggestion could be there should be an adequate delegation of the work at the lower levels as well. So if we do not delegate the work, adequate amount of the work at the lower levels, that lead to the concentration of the work at a particular level, even at the higher level. So when we delegate or assign such work at the lower levels, it leads to uh, the situation that the work will not pile up at one tier of the organization. So this in this case also it will lead to the efficient task of distribution of work to all the levels in an organization. So that would further lead to the lessening of overburden. Now we have addressed all the parts of the question. So in the conclusion, you have to stress on the importance of work-life balance for any employee. So how work-life balance would lead to the better performance of civil servants, and even work-life balance, healthy work-life balance, not just give good results in his or her personal life, but also a professional life as well. So in the conclusion you just have to emphasize on work life balance and its essence. So this is all about this case study. So in the next case study, so this is also related to the governance and also corruption, right? Now this case study, we know this honest, sincere officer. So recently he has taken over the managing director of State Road Transport Corporation. So this was his sixth transfer in the past 3 years. So he was very often transferred because he is a honest and sincere IAS officer. So since he is a very honest and sincere officer, he is being transferred because he refuses to fulfill the political whims and fancies. So therefore, this is called as a punishment posting or punishment transfers. Now, so his peers acknowledge his vast knowledge. So in fact, Vinod had a vast knowledge, affability, and uprightness. So they are very important values whenever we call a civil servant honest and a person of integrity, because he shows uprightness, he had a knowledge, and he also had affability. Now, the chairman of the State Road Transport Corporation is a powerful politician. So, chairman of a road transport corporation is a politician, and he is also very close to the chief minister. Now, in this case, Vinod comes to know about many alleged irregularities of the corporation. So, there were already alleged irregularities within the corporation. So, and high handedness of the chairman in the financial matters. So in those, the chairman had also involved in uh, uh, the chairman is also known for the high-handedness in the financial matters of that State Road Transport Corporation. Now, a board member of the corporation belonging to opposition party. Now, this particular board member met with Vinod, and he handed over to Vinod a few documents along with a video recording with which chairman appears demanding bribe for placing a huge order for the supply of QMR tires. So that video is being handed over to the Vinod, where the chairman of the Road Transport Corporation has been demanding a bribe from a private company. However, Vinod recollects chairman and expediting clearing of pending bills of QMR tires. Now, in this case, chairman asked Vinod to expedite, okay, so faster the clearing of pending bills of QMR tires. So Vinod confronts the board member as to why he is shying away from exposing the chairman with so-called solid proof he has with him. So in fact, the board member, he himself not exposed the chairman despite having the video proof. Rather, he is giving the video proof to Vinod. So the very same thing is being asked by Vinod to the board member. So the board member informs him that the chairman refuses to yield to his threats. So in this case, earlier also the board member tried to show this video to the chairman. However, the chairman did not listen to him, or chairman did not pay enough heed to what the board member says. So he also adds that Vinod may earn recognition and public support. So therefore, it is a kind of a motivating Vinod that he could earn recognition and a public support if he himself exposes the chairman. So further, he tells Vinod that once his party comes to power, Vinod's professional growth would be assured. So a kind of a political favors are being extended to Vinod, because he says once his party comes to power, then Vinod's professional growth would be assured. So here one thing we need to understand, that is Vinod is honest and a sincere IAS officer, no doubt about that. So however, if Vinod listen to the board member, and if Vinod is attracted towards what board member says, that Vinod's professional growth and would be assured once his party comes to power, then of course he would compromise his values and professional integrity. So therefore, there should be a course of action that should be neutral. that should be politically neutral, and it should be non-biased and impartial as well. So further the case, Vinod is aware that he may be penalized if he exposes chairman and further be transferred to a distant place. So he already transferred 6 times. So if again exposed the chairman as well, so he would be transferred again to a distant place. So he knows that the opposition party stands better chance coming to power in the forthcoming elections. So Vinod also knows that the opposition party will comes to power again, so next time elections. So however, he also realizes that board member is trying to use him for his political gains. So this is actually the essence of the case study. So the opposition party member has been trying to use Vinod for his political gains, but it is not his genuine concern that the corruption of chairman should be exposed. So in this case, we need to address two questions. Firstly, as a conscientious civil servant, evaluate the options which are available to Vinod. So what are the options available to Vinod, and what should be the way forward? Secondly, in the light of the above case, comment upon the ethical issues that may arise due to politicization of bureaucracy. So what are the ethical issues being arise due to the politicization of bureaucracy? So firstly, you need to write about the uh, uh, firstly you need to write introduction. So what could be the introduction? So in introduction, so you just mention that Vinod's as a honest and sincere officer has come across a problem, that is corruption related charges against the chairman and the opposition party member using him for his political gains. So now in this case, we know have to come up with appropriate course of action. So this is how you can introduce this answer. And first part of the answer is, as a conscientious civil servant, evaluate the options that are being available to Vinod. So if you look at the options available to Vinod, first and foremost option is acting on the evidence and exposing chairman publicly. So because the board member already given the video evidence of demanding a bribe from QMR types. So therefore, immediately acting on what a chairman did, because he already had the evidence, and exposing the public and ready for the transfer, because no doubt the government will penalize him for exposing corruption. So however, if we look at the merits of this option, it upholds integrity, transparency by exposing corruption, because we know already a honest and sincere IAS officer, and if he expose the corruption, then it results in upholding integrity and transparency by exposing corruption. The second merit is it potentially gains public support and recognition for his actions as well. Now, if he exposes the chairman of his corrupt acts, then it could result in public support and public recognition for his actions as a honest civil servant. So please also remember, the board member who is from opposition party also extended some benefits. For example, if the government, the opposition party now comes to power, then that opposition party will help Vinod of his professional growth. So, however, uh, uh, this could lead to the a nexus, a political bureaucracy nexus, and even this lack of neutral civil services. However, when it comes to demerits of this issue, this matter is the risk of retaliation, including punishment posting. Of course, this is true. Once Vinod exposes the corruption, it would results in retaliation from the government and from the chairman, and even lead to the punishment posting and transfer of Vinod. The second demerit is there's a risk of being embroiled in partisan politics, because so once he exposes corruption, Then the political game starts because the opposition party board member wanted to use Vinod for his political gains. So therefore, it is not sustainable in the long term. So the next option which is being available for Vinod is secretly reporting to the higher authorities within the department about the situation. Yes, this is the situation, and this situation should be secretly reported to the higher authorities. So when it comes to the merits of this particular option, so it allows for more discreet investigation within the government. Okay, so the government will conduct a discrete investigation about this matter, and it also results in maintenance of confidentiality of the evidence. And if it is not true, then the organizational you know the organizational reputation can be maintained because it is not exposed publicly, and he's not readily exposed. He was not become a whistleblower. So therefore the reputation of the organization is also maintained, and reputation is essential for public trust as well. So when it comes to demerits of this particular option, so uncertainty about the fairness of the internal investigation, because since a chairman had a very close connection with the chief minister, so that investigation could be further politicized, politically influenced. So therefore there is a uncertainty on the about fairness of the internal investigation. And second demerit is the risk of retaliation or cover up within the organization. So once it is being reported to the higher authorities, then it could be retaliated, and there could be a cover up within the organization. So therefore, it could mask the entire corruption, and even Vinod being transferred. So virtually there could be no action on the chairman, and corruption continues. Now, what should be the way forward? So ethical issues that are being arising out of the politicization of bureaucracy. So what are the issues being arising because of this politicization of the bureaucracy? So first and foremost, when bureaucracy is politicized, it leads to spoiled system. So the spoiled system over a period of time degenerates into nepotism and corruption, and it would further erode the public trust. For good governance and for public trust, it is very important that the administrative mechanisms are free from corruption and nepotism. But over politicization of bureaucracy leads to the twin problems of nepotism and corruption. So therefore, it is very important that bureaucracy should be politically neutral. And secondly, the politicization of bureaucracy adversely impact the neutrality and impartiality of civil servants. So if civil servants are not neutral and they are not impartial, so they are politically biased, so then there's a chance that there's a political and bureaucratic nexus will develop, and this political and bureaucratic nexus further leads to the corruption and degeneration of democracy as well. So in this context, it is very important that bureaucracy should be politically neutral. And third, the politicization of bureaucracy leads to the conflict of interest. So conflict of interest means that any public servant misusing his position, his authority for the personal benefit. So therefore, the duty should be done for the duty's sake as per Kant. So the duty should be done for the duty's sake as given by Immanuel Kant. In fact, it even compromises the meritocracy within the system. See, meritocracy is very important for the effective functioning and efficient usage of resources in any public organization. So therefore, when meritocracy is compromised, the significant positions within the civil services and bureaucracy are being given to the people which are otherwise undeserving, and they are not meritorious. So that would lead to the poor governance in the organization, and the problems like corruption, nepotism continues to grow further. So, however, the second Administrative Reforms Commission held that politicization of bureaucracy firmly blocks the passage of attitudinal change. So, whenever there is a politicization of bureaucracy at any level of functioning, then that could firmly blocks the passage of attitudinal change. So there will be no attitudinal change, and bureaucracy will also becomes unresponsive and apathetic to the public issues. So it very often becomes unresponsive and apathetic as well. However, the multi-headed monster of corruption, so it becomes a constant companion of administration, because as there is no fear of prosecution in the minds of civil servants. When politicization of bureaucracy takes place, then there will be a political and bureaucratic nexus, because since politicians usually pass the legislations will not have enough truth, because exposing bureaucrats means exposing the politicians as well. So therefore, such a flexible laws will result in no fear of prosecution in the minds of civil servants. So this is another problem, and this would further results in proliferation of corruption within the administration and society as well, and that could impact the people's trust and erode public trust on the governance and the government. So therefore, finally, you need to emphasize on. So you need to write the right course of action. What should Vinod actually do in this case? So Vinod have to take the possession of the video evidence, and he should not be influenced by what the opposition political party member had offered him. So rather than looking at this evidence from the political viewpoint, he should actually have an overall understanding. So he should have a comprehensive study of this issue. So if it is true, that it should be immediately reported, because in any organization, corruption should attract zero tolerance. So if any vested interests are involved from the opposition party member as well, so they have to be exposed as well, because it could threaten the organizational efficiency. In fact, when Vinod exposes corruption, if it really takes place, then in fact the trust of the public on that particular organization will increase, because these honest officials are working for the larger public welfare, and they are following the policy of zero tolerance towards corruption. So this is how you can conclude this answer. So these are all today's these two case studies for today's discussion. So we left with the two case studies in this 2023 question paper. So we will discuss them as well very soon. Okay. So thank you.